Hello everyone. So welcome to another week of the Ubuntu Community Team Q&A, where you can ask all of your questions about Ubuntu, open source, and nearly anything else. Sorry about the delay today. We've had a few technical problems. Starting with my camera, you probably can see a nice logo instead of my picture in there. So sorry about that. Fortunately, we've got a very handsome Alan Pope next to me with a working camera, and we might even have his cat walking around if we're lucky. So as usual, if you've got any questions, feel free to join the #ubuntu-on-air on Freenode, and make sure that you prepare all of your questions with questions so that we can follow them. Have we forgotten anything about the preliminaries, Alan?
Don't think so.
Cool. All right. So yeah, if anyone is on the channel and could confirm that they can hear us, that'd be cool. If not, we'll just start rambling around. So we've got quite a lot of exciting things going on with Ubuntu at the moment. Most of it is focused on or around the phone launch. The Ubuntu engineering teams are working frantically to get to an image that's got really high quality that can be handed to manufacturers, and we're wrapping up to the last steps of this process. So you'll see that there's lots of bugs being targeted. There's a list of critical bugs going down, and you see also lots of activity on the Ubuntu Phone mailing list. The Ubuntu Phone mailing list is also a very good way to follow the progress on development and all of the announcements. For everything that's related to app development rather than the platform, we've also got developer.ubuntu.com, where we are currently working on improving, or rather than improving, adding more content to the site. We've got some content that's already landed by the one and only David Cullen. He's been writing some articles, guides, and tutorials for us. Last one about performance, which if you follow the Ubuntu channels, you'll have seen. Other than that, we've had also other exciting things going on, such as the XDA Dev conference, to which we've got some very nice Canonical representation. We have 3 people from Canonical, one of them being Alan. Alan, perhaps you can give us an update on what XDA DEFCON was like.
Yeah, so it's the second one they've run. The first one they did was in Florida, and I know Mike Hall went to that one. And this one was in Manchester, in the Midlands, in the UK. And we sponsored both of them. We sponsored the one in Florida, and we sponsored this one as well. It was really for the XDA developers community. So for those of you who don't know, it's a fairly sizable community of phone and tablet hackers, for want of a better word, people who like to modify their phones, software, maybe create custom ROMs, that kind of stuff for their phones and tablets. And more often than not, it's often to give a new lease of life to older phones, and also to replace the existing firmware, maybe to improve it in some way, better battery life, better control over the operating system, that kind of stuff. So they're a community of quite technical people. There were lots of talks over the weekend. It ran from Friday evening through till Sunday afternoon. They had a little exhibition area with some big name sponsors in there, including Sony and Nvidia. They also had some people there from various mobile phone companies, including Oppo and OnePlus One. They also had people from Yola and Firefox OS, or Mozilla for Firefox OS, and three of us as well. A whole load of really interesting technical talks, really great atmosphere. For the next one, I'd definitely recommend you go along if phones are of interest to you, phones and tablets and that kind of stuff. Really good bunch of people, really well organised, and we gave 3 talks. Daniel Holback from the community team did a talk on it was more of a workshop on getting started with development on Ubuntu. People brought along their laptops and were able to get started developing their first app for Ubuntu Phone. And Andre, who's one of our engineers, works on hardware bring up. He's got a lot of experience over the years doing mobile phone engineering in lots of large companies, including Samsung, and worked for Symbian as well. And he went through a talk that was quite interesting for the people at XDA who are interested in porting to various new platforms. Talked about the architecture of the Ubuntu platform, the Ubuntu Phone platform. And I gave a talk about the history of Ubuntu Phone, where it came from, and where we are now, and where we're heading in the future. And yeah, it was really good. I'd highly recommend going to that conference if it comes to a town near you, or even not near you. It's worth going.
Excellent. Yeah, I think working with the XDA community, which is something that we've been doing in the past, has been something that's been really fun. And also, I love the interest that everyone has in Ubuntu as in being an open source OS as well. I know that the existing community is very much Android centric, but they're rather more focused on the open source side of things, such as Cyanogen mods.
Yeah, I mean the fact that there were people there from from Yola showing off Sailfish, and there were people from Mozilla showing off Firefox OS, and there were people from Oppo with their OS platform, which I think is Cyanogen on one of their phones. So yeah, it wasn't exclusively Android by any stretch, and many of the talks were not Android related. They were something aside. There was some guys there from MediaTek who had some interesting open source announcements that they made, and some neat little hardware gadgets and things. So there's plenty to keep people interested. It's really good.
Cool. Oh, right.
There was one other thing I wanted to mention that over the weekend I've seen there's been a few articles published about the about Ubuntu Phone, and about the fact that it's ready and it's done and it's finished. And I think we might need to clear up some of the what's going on in RTM world. I don't know if you want to go through that, or you want me to go through that.
Yeah, I can give it a go, and then yeah, we can have a chat about it together. So essentially, I think perhaps some of the miscommunication or the misunderstanding has been that we're using the tag RTM as in release to manufacture. The way we started doing this was that we generally have an Ubuntu distribution that an Ubuntu OS that's released every 6 months. However, this doesn't line up very well, with the schedules that some manufacturers have. For the desktop, manufacturers have learned to adapt to the 6 month cycle, but the mobile world is pretty much different from the desktop world. So, given the fact that we want to release the phone very, very soon, which will mean before or in between the regular 6 month period, we've started a different workflow, which means that we essentially fork the regular Ubuntu distribution, and we've created a distribution that we call Ubuntu RTM. Ubuntu RTM is again the acronym for release to manufacture, and it's kind of a rolling release as it is right now in development mode. That essentially comes from the regular Ubuntu distribution. We want to have an image that we give to manufacturers, but only we will only give this image when we're happy with its quality, meaning that we've got quite a lot of I should probably say quite a lot. We've got some critical bugs on the image that we're continuously tracking, and we're working towards bringing that list down. Only when we're happy with that, then we will release the image to the manufacturer. We're in talks with the manufacturers in any case. Continuously, so it is not going to be just a drop, so that we're evaluating this continually. The only thing that we can say is that it's going to be soon, but by no means we've got a final image yet. What we're working on right now is on iterations of the RTM image, or the RTM distribution rather. So you'll see images being created all of the time, them being tested, and then being promoted to stable channels, and that's the way it is working right now. So yeah, I think that was a really good point, Alan. I think it's worth mentioning that and clarifying that. So yeah, I'm not sure if you want to add anything else.
No, it's just worth remembering that it's not us that controls the release. It's the manufacturer that controls the release of the device. We're making the software, and obviously we've got a lot of work to do, but it's not that Canonical are going to release a phone or Ubuntu is releasing a phone. We're making the software, and it's up to the handset manufacturers, when they feel ready and when they're going to release the phone. So while the software side of it is somewhat within our control, the rest of it isn't really and isn't ready yet. So I just saw a few news articles, and they just seemed a little bit wrong, but I decided to resist commenting on every single one of them.
Wise. So I think this might have been triggered by the. I think the first time I saw this happening, the first article. I mean, not just before this weekend, was when we promoted the first or second image to the RTM stable channel. People seem to think that this was going to be it. It was going to be image, which is understandable. I know that everyone is very excited. I think we first of all, and everyone's looking forward to having that final release. Lots of people have been working very hard in this image. Lots of people, not only in the platform but also app developers. Either independent app developers or also volunteer app developers who have been creating the core apps, and everyone has put quite a lot of passion and in making this phone happen. So it's understandable that everyone is excited. All right. So perhaps with there are no questions. Talking about the platform, talking about the core apps. Perhaps we can start talking a bit about things that have been happening around core apps. I mean, I could think that perhaps we can talk a bit about reminders and the music redesign, which is a couple of things that we've been working on.
Yeah, so I'll talk about music. You can talk about reminders if you like.
Yeah.
So for music, we had some usability testing done on the phone, and this has been done with members of the public some who are familiar with Android, some familiar with iOS, some maybe not so familiar with either. And we've done some usability testing across the entire phone platform and the applications as well. And we got a load of feedback from this, and the testing involved, getting people to do things like, take a photo or set a picture as your background, play a song, play a whole album, that kind of stuff. The usual kind of stuff that people do with phones. And we got a whole heap of feedback for lots of the apps, and that's resulted in some bugs being filed in some, where functionality is just broken, so that's being fixed by engineers. And in some cases, it's required a rethink of how some of the applications work or some of the shell functionality works. And one example of that is the music app. So the music app was designed, the initial designs were done nearly a year ago, I think, and haven't really changed a huge amount since then. And some of the usability testing that's been done has uncovered some stumbling blocks that users have had when using the application. So they found it difficult to add tracks to a playlist or name a playlist, or they found it difficult hitting certain targets. Maybe they were too small or ambiguously named, or the kind of problems that you would uncover as a normal person using an application. So we've had people in the canonical design team redesign the main screens of the music app, and the music app developers are now working on implementing those changes. We're tracking those, as we do with most things in Ubuntu, tracking those with a blueprint. We've got a whole bunch of work items to get through. We haven't got a huge amount of time to do this, because whilst RTM is not on us now, it's going to be soon. So we need to get this done fairly promptly. So we're kind of putting the call out for other developers who are familiar with the platform. So some of our other core app developers, to see if they can pitch in and help so that we can get this app fixed up and the design implemented in time for RTM. It may well be we can't. It may well be that we get as much of the work done as we can, but it turns out not to, the work isn't completed on time. And if that's the case, then we're not going to land a new broken music app. But I'm pretty confident that we'll get the work done in time. So I don't think that's going to be a problem. We're kind of rallying the troops, as it were, to try and get these issues fixed and the new designs implemented. And we're having regular catch-ups with the developers so that we can monitor progress and make sure we know we're going to be on time. I think that's it. I don't think I had anything else to say about music, unless there's anything specific you can think of, David.
No, that was pretty much it. That was a really nice summary. I'll just I think we can. It's related. We've got a question from Andrew Hazen on IRC, and it's kind of related to music. So perhaps we can answer that one and then take the other question from Plus other ads.
Okay, so Andrew says, what's the latest time before RTM that we can start a redesign? Haha. Now, the reason why this is funny from Andrew, because he's one of the music app developers. He says, only joking, his real question, is it possible to have two separate packages for the same app that target different framework versions yet? Otherwise, how will apps that target new SDK features provide fixes? Ooh, good question. So at the moment, the store doesn't support the Click store doesn't support multiple versions of the same application that have different framework versions. This is something we've discussed at various summits and various meetings with the store developers, and we haven't had time to implement that. We've certainly discussed it and talked about the benefit of being able to deliver two applications that support different versions of framework. So the reason why you might want to do that is if you have a number of phones out in the wild that are running, let's say, for example, 1410, and they have the 1410 framework and SDK on them. And then in some months' time, there will be phones out in the wild that are based on 1504, and they will have different capabilities in terms of the SDK and the toolkit. And if we want to have two different versions of, let's say, the music app in this case, in the store, where one is updates for the 1410 version of the phones that are out there, and the other one is updates for the 1504 version of the phones. That's what we would like to be able to happen. At the moment, the store doesn't support that. So at the moment, we can only have one version of an app in the store within one namespace. The workaround to this is to have two entirely separate apps at the moment, but I'd rather we didn't go down that road and have, music for this version of the phone and music for that version of the phone. That's going to be something we're going to have to work out. We've got a sprint coming up in a few weeks where we all get together and we work out some of these issues that are outstanding and reprioritize the things that are important. And if it's seen that those are, you know, super important issues that we need to figure out, it's already come up a few times, as I said. If we need to, then we may prioritize that work up.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, just one thing that I would like to add as well is that other than resources and the time to implement feature before RTM, one of the things that that we're very focused on is to deliver something that that works well. Meaning that we've got quite a lot of features or feature requests, and we have to be very careful in what we can deliver. On the first RTM, or on the first phone, actually. So some of the decisions or some of the features are discussed in that context, as in, is this something that we can have working reliably and well for the first release, or is it something that we can leave for the next version of Ubuntu? This one in particular is something that we've had a few discussions already about, as Alan was saying, but also it could open it could open up to increasing the complexity of the store as well. So at this time we're looking at having a first version of the store that can scale up well, and then it works well with the features that we put in there, rather than having many features and then having to maintain them when they are not yet fully working. So that's why we're very careful on this.
Given we don't have any phones on the market at the moment that at all, or you know, we don't have this as a problem that needs immediately solving. There are a number of other problems that do need solving immediately.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay. Do you want to go back to anything else we need to say about music?
No, I think that was pretty much. I think that was a really nice, good summary.
Cool.
Okay, so question from Crusader AD. Does Canonical plan on sending more resources back to the desktop now the phone is stable? That's again another really good question. One thing to remember though is that while the phone is stable, is that it is not yet in the market. As we said before, we're still working on the on RTM iterations. So until we've got these first phones out, and then the next ones with Meizu, then we'll still be focusing very much on the phone. That doesn't mean that we're not focusing on the desktop at all. We're still releasing the desktop every 6 months, and the good news is that in any case we're going to focusing on the desktop soon too. We're working towards what we call convergence, meaning that we will have this exactly the same software running on the phone and on the desktop, and this will help us as well converge the teams that work on phone and on the desktop. So this will mean that naturally more resources will be put to the desktop at some point in the very near future. Okay, so let's have a look at the next question. Merute Cornell is asking, is it possible to find in Unity in the future different widgets like KDE? To be honest, I have to be honest when answering this question. I don't know. My hunch is that that you won't be seeing something like widgets in the near future from the designs that I've seen. In the long term, I cannot really say. I know that we talked about widgets in the past in Unity, so that's perhaps where the question is coming from. But I'd say in the near future we won't be seeing any widgets. However, the best person to ask on this are the community. Actually, are the design team, or perhaps on the Ubuntu Phone mailing list. Okay. All right. So it seems that we don't have more questions for now. So going back to core apps and updates, we've talked about the music app. For the rest of the core apps, we're very happy to see that most of them are not only stable but feature complete, which is very cool. So most of our core app developers are working on bug polishing and trying to see if there are any critical issues that affect each one of the apps. One of the things that happened recently was that we removed the calendar app from the default image, but we moved it to the store, so it's still installable. It's still functional. It's still being maintained, but we removed it from the pre-installed images. One of the reasons why we did this was because we don't feel that the backend that we've got to sync calendars is stable at this time, and we don't want to give the impression that that we've got same quality as the rest of the system that we installed by default. Again, I want to stress that this doesn't mean that we're not no longer developing the calendar app. It's simply that the releases have moved to the store. Development continues exactly in the same way as before, and we're re-evaluating. We're reassessing every time which apps come into the image as default apps, as pre-installed apps, and it might well be that in the near future, when we've got a more stable syncing backend, the calendar app comes back as a pre-installed image. And also, while I'm saying that, I'd like to thank the core app developers who have been working on the calendar. They've done a really good job at creating this app from scratch, at coping with a platform that's been a moving target in these last few months, in doing 2 batches of redesigns, or even 3, I think, and coming up with an app that looks really good at the moment. I mean, I myself, even if it's not pre-installed on the phone, I use Calendar every day. I've got it installed, and I use it to see what's coming up in my day, and to get all those alarms that we all love, don't we? All right. Okay. Talkie is asking, Ubuntu Phone price, how much? Well, that's a rather direct question. Well, first of all, we don't, we as Canonical, as a company, as we were saying before, we're developing the OS, so the software, not the hardware. So ultimately, the price for the phones will be set by the manufacturers. I would say the best thing to do is to go to the manufacturers' websites, bqreaders.com or Meizu, and see what the mid-range and mid-range, high-range phones cost, and that will give you an idea of how much the final product will cost. But I think by the standards of mid-range phones and high-range phones will be something that's very affordable, which is really cool.
Yeah, I think I've seen some prices thrown around, and it doesn't seem like. I mean, we're not talking, just to set expectations. We're not talking, $20 or something like throwaway phone. But equally, we're not talking iPhone 6 Plus kind of price range, but somewhere in the middle of that.
Yeah. Cool. And to be clear, I mean, Ubuntu is an operating system that, as I was saying, is intended to be run as a full-blown OS with native apps. Native apps meaning apps written in QML, which have access to the whole set of platform APIs. Also HTML5 apps, in addition, that equally have got access to the platform, and what we call scopes as well, which we can talk about later on or on another broadcast. All right. Mr. Brownstone is asking, will you have members of the Mir team at XTC next month? I'm not
Don't
sure,
know.
to be honest. Do you know?
Probably the best place to ask is in hash Ubuntu -mir. I don't know if any of them are going. It's at the start of October, I think, in Bordeaux, in France. I don't know. You know, we often send individuals to various conferences around the world, whether it's, you know, cute developer conferences or like I went to XDA. We don't necessarily keep track of where, you know, the community team don't necessarily keep track personally of where everyone's going and who's going to which conferences, because there's loads of them and lots of people. But probably the best place to ask is hash Ubuntu -mir on Freenode IRC. See if anyone's going, if you want to meet up and talk about rendering pipelines or whatever people talk about at XDC.
Exactly, my favorite subject. All right. Okay. Just Caracas is asking, any update on multiple calendars from Google? Alan, you might have a better view on this.
So this is the calendar app that David was just talking about. Can synchronize your Google Calendar down to your phone, or it can show you the contents of your Google Calendar. The actual synchronization is done by another process that's part of the platform that gets enabled when you install the calendar app. So if you don't install the calendar app, it doesn't get enabled. So it can, at the moment, only synchronize your default calendar. It's based on EDS, which is something you'll probably find on your Ubuntu desktop if you go to system settings, accounts, and you add your Google authentication details in there as an account. There's a little slider that lets you choose to synchronize your calendar to the desktop, and it's actually the same software that we use on the phone to synchronize the calendar to the phone, which then appears in the calendar app that we created. And by default, that only synchronizes your default calendar. And we don't have plans to change that before RTM. It's certainly something we know about. It's a bug that we are tracking, but we don't have the resources to fix that between now and RTM. If someone else knows EDS really well and fancies having a crack at it, that would be awesome. But right now, that's not on our priority hit list for the next month or so.
Yeah. Okay. Toki is asking, will Unity connect to other stores other than Amazon, i.e. Newegg, eBay, or even the Apple Store? Well, to be clear, Unity is not connecting to the Amazon store right now. So let me just go back a bit and make clear that I'm talking about the phone right now, which is our main focus, and also where we've got the best chances to integrate with other services at the moment. What we have in Ubuntu as in the platform for phones and for mobile devices is a nice way of integrating services and making it easier for handset manufacturers, for operators to bring in their services into Ubuntu, essentially using Ubuntu as a platform. In that regard, it will be easy for them to integrate to their store or to other services. So, in essence, to answer the question, yes, it will be easy to connect to other stores, or rather, I'd say services. Whether it's going to be Newegg or eBay, I don't know. But what I can certainly tell you is that it's not going to be the Apple Store. I don't really think Apple would. It's something that, well, it'd be nice if they'd be interested, but in all, well, being completely honest, I don't think that's going to happen. Okay, Poppy, I think I will leave the next one to you.
next one. Sorry, I've alt-tabbed away. Okay,
No worries.
this is from Mr. Brownstone, is it?
Yeah.
So, Mr. Brownstone asks, will Pope be on Linux Unplugged tonight to defend the 14.10 desktop release? So I think the context of this question is that on the Linux Action Show, which is a podcast that's done by Jupiter Broadcasting, I think they did a review over the weekend of the upcoming 14.10 release. I haven't seen it, so that's all I know, because I was at a conference over the weekend, so I haven't seen it, and I've been busy since, so I haven't seen it. If I get a chance, I might watch it. So yeah, that'll be interesting to watch. What people think of 14.10, before the release. Yeah. So I don't feel like I have to be the sole defender of 14.10 on any podcast. It's if Chris and Matt have their opinions about 14.10, that's fine. Everyone's allowed to have their opinion about 14.10. I'm guessing from your question that it was negative. So, well, there you go.
Okay, yeah, I really like the stress on defend as well. All right, the OS showdown. Okay. Okay. So we get a question from Topi, and I think straight away from reading it, I don't think I can answer it. So Poppy, so I think I'll leave it for you if you can.
So I suspect this is. So the question is from Talkie. It says, "This may be a stupid question. It's not, trust me. But will shell shock harm Ubuntu Touch because it has the Linux kernel?" So shell shock is the friendly name given to a Bash security vulnerability that was found recently. And there were updates put out to all the major distros have updated their Bash packages thanks to fixes that have come from upstream Bash maintainers. And this is interesting in that, yes, the phone has got Bash installed by default. And while I was reading that question, I was just going back and looking through the change logs, and I can see Bash was updated a few days ago. So yeah, it gets updated, and we will have a secure phone. That's fine. We will have a process in the future for similar things. In the event of some security issue in an underlying component of the Linux stack, we will of course send updates out over the air to our users. But no, I don't believe we were affected by this in the same way that every Linux distro is, and Ubuntu on phones is effectively a Linux distro. So yes, we were affected, and it's fixed, I believe. So yeah, not a stupid question, a very valid question.
Cool.
Next question is from Nightmare. Will I be able to fully encrypt my Ubuntu Touch device? This is something that there's been a lot of press about the fact that Apple with iOS and Google with Android are saying that you can encrypt your device in a post-Snowden world. I can see why people find that an attractive option. I don't think on day one we have that capability. There's been a lot of moving parts in the platform which make it difficult to do on day one. But I know it's on the radar to be done at some point soon. And I know the people who work on Ubuntu Phone are security conscious individuals who also would like an encrypted phone and would also like encrypted phone calls, would like encrypted SMS, would like encrypted instant messenger and all kinds of other ways to protect your privacy. But we don't have the time to get all of those things done, like for version 1.0 of Ubuntu Phone. But they're all on the radar, and none of them have been dismissed as not possible, as far as I understand.
Cool. All right. So we've got about 10 minutes left. So if you've got any final questions, feel free to jump in. As Alan was saying, there's no such thing as stupid questions, and we can answer to the best of our abilities in any case. All right. Oh, there we've got another one. So Andrew Heisen is asking, are the Ubuntu OS updates independent from the carrier OEM, so we don't have to wait for them to decide to release the update for your device?
Yeah, so updates in Ubuntu are kind of split. There's kind of four different types of updates in Ubuntu. There's the device updates, which are things like hardware enablement to make the GPU work, to make the GPS work, that kind of stuff, and those kind of updates we would expect to be few and far between. Yeah, because they're quite invasive and they're very low level updates. Then on top of that, you've got the Ubuntu updates that we provide in the form of a read-only file system image that gets Delta updates as time goes on. So if you flash your phone cleanly, you'll get a full image, a full read-only image on your phone, and then as time goes on, if we put out further updates, then those will be Delta updates over the top of that initial image that you installed. On top of that, it's possible for the carrier, the handset manufacturer, and the carrier to have additional updates on top of that, but that's their responsibility. So they might want to deliver carrier-specific content. Maybe they have a deal with some content partner. Maybe they have a deal with a music store in a particular country or a particular territory that doesn't apply for other carriers in other territories, in which case they can deliver that on top of the Ubuntu stack. So we will deliver the updates to the Ubuntu stack, which is the functionality that your phone will have on day one, and that's the functionality that we're already building at the moment. But the carrier could add additional things like themes, for example, to put their branding, their color scheme on or something, or they could add additional icons to the launcher that might go to their own store or to other partner sites of theirs that they may have some value add. And that's like the third level of updates that are on top. So yeah, we deliver the read-only bit in the middle, the Ubuntu image in the middle, and they deliver those value add, which could include launcher icons, themes, new scopes, deals with other content providers, that kind of thing. But we're responsible for the bit in the middle. I hope that answers the question.
All right. Cool. Talk is asking, does Ubuntu Touch support fingerprint verification or two-step verification for the potential return of Ubuntu One? I think it's kind of two questions in one. In terms of fingerprint verification, perhaps as in a way of doing two-step verification, it is not supported at the moment. It's not supported on the desktop either, because it's as far as I understood it was not really secure, the implementation that there was. For two-step verification, it is supported from the server side, as in the Ubuntu SSO login supports two-step verification via codes. And the nice thing about Ubuntu as a platform as well is that there's a possibility of creating apps that can generate codes for two-step verification. We've got an app called Ubuntu Authenticator on the store, created also by the one and only Michael Zanetti, who's a canonical engineer. Was developed lots of things across the platform. He's up with Unity. He's the developer of the Right Edge, which we all love as well. And he's been helping us also in his spare time in some of the core apps, such as reminders. So essentially, there's no built-in support on the client, but there is two-step verification support on the server side. And in addition to that, we've got apps. I'll say Ubuntu Authenticator is one of them to do two-step verification.
And if a if a partner that we're working with wants to release a phone and it has a fingerprint reader, and they have the necessary Android low-level kernel drivers to support that, I'm sure that we would certainly look at creating the necessary hooks within Ubuntu to enable that as well. But at the moment, I don't believe any of the devices we're looking at the moment have fingerprint readers. So that isn't an option for us at the moment.
All right, so we got another question from Toki. Will I be able to uninstall bloatware? Well, it depends on how you define bloatware for a start. We'll be able to install and uninstall apps. You should actually be able to uninstall pre-installed apps as well. And if the manufacturers make the terminal available, which I think they were the first release, and if you set up the right security requirements to use a terminal, and you can use a terminal, you'll be able to access the low-level stuff as well. As we've been saying before, Ubuntu on the phone is a full-blown Linux or Ubuntu OS with all the bells and whistles.
And in the same way that other people make, images for existing devices, it's entirely possible for you to make your own. You could make your own image for Ubuntu Phone that's built on top of the software that we've already made. You can even set up your own system update server and deliver updates to people from that system update server. You may call it bloatware or applications or whatever. You could create a stripped down version of Ubuntu Phone or a customized version, or you can certainly do that. You can certainly modify it in, put more bloat in it or less bloat in it, or whatever you want to call it. You can certainly customize the install. We're running low on time. We've got a couple of other questions. Nightmares asked, will I be able to fully encrypt my Ubuntu Touch device? I answered that earlier, and the answer is not on the first release. Then asks, any news on when BQ will be releasing their device?
Nice try.
Soon. And will Ubuntu Touch have Microsoft ActiveSync available at launch for its mail client? So we don't have a built-in mail client in Ubuntu Phone Image. A lot of us use Gmail or other web mail providers, and the web browser on the phone is really very good. It's called Oxide. It's based on Chromium, works very well, and a lot of people just use web apps for their email. For people who want what you call a real email client, there's an app in the store called DECKO, D-E-K-K-O, which is based largely on Trojita, which is an email client that's existed for some time. And you can install DECKO. I don't know if it supports Microsoft ActiveSync. I think it probably doesn't. I think it only does IMAP at the moment. However, it's open source. Patch is welcome. If people have the time and inclination to add support for whatever other protocol, that would be completely awesome. And I know the guys working on that would welcome contributions very warmly.
All right. So I think we might have what will be the last question. We've got 1 minute left. If you've got any last minute ones, we can have a go at them if you post them. But in any case, I think this might be one of the last ones or the last one. So Humi is asking, is there any plan to update NVIDIA binary blocks to provide support for newer hardware such as the GTX 900 series on Trusty? I mean, I know that we regularly update NVIDIA packages. We've got a working relationship with NVIDIA. For that particular series of hardware, I don't know, to be honest. I'm not sure. I can actually answer that one.
if the driver exists in the archive, if it's in like a later release like Utopic and you want it in Trusty, we do have a process for requesting backports to previous releases. Here goes the phone alarm. See, we do use the calendar app, and the probably the best people to speak to. I would say the best person to speak to is on IRC, a guy called T.S. Eliot on IRC, and there's a IRC channel, Ubuntu-X is probably the best place to jump in and ask them about NVIDIA updates. I think it's a question they get quite a lot. But T.S. Eliot on IRC is one of the guys who does most of the work around the binary NVIDIA driver, so he's probably the best person to speak to. But I know we can backport stuff from newer releases to older releases if there isn't significant changes in the version of Xorg between them. That could be possible, but he's the person to speak to.
Cool. And I think we can just still tackle the last one. I'm not sure if I can actually answer it as well, but I'll just read it and Poppy, if you can answer it, to pick it up. So Talk is asking, will Canonical force unlock bootloaders for the phone partners? That is, for installing custom ROMs for the device. For installing custom ROMs for the device, such as Android custom versions or custom versions of Ubuntu Touch or others. Well, I mean, I can only say that this is not something that that we as a software company can much control. But perhaps Poppy can add some more insight to that.
I'm not sure. You know, we should get someone from the hardware enablement team, someone like Andre or John McAlee on this Hangout one week and answer those kind of, you know, phone relationship with the handset manufacturer type questions, because they're kind of outside our, you know, above my pay grade, as they say.
Yeah. So Talkie, what we can say is that we can look into it and perhaps try to answer it next time, or even better, what Poppy is suggesting. And generally, we have guests on these calls as well. So the next one the next guest that we can have is that, yeah, as you were saying, we have perhaps someone from hardware enablement to answer all these questions. Okay, I think with this we're at the top of the hour, so I think we can just wrap it up. As usual, thanks very much everyone for not only watching but also for asking interesting questions. I think it's good to have these kind of conversations, not only to answer the questions for those who directly ask them, but also for those who are watching the Hangout either now or later on. So yeah, thanks everyone for that. And then I'd say if there's anything else, you guys know where we are. DPM on hash Ubuntu app devel or hash Ubuntu community. Alan Pope is Poppy in there.
Everywhere.
Exactly. And also, yeah, Poppy is everywhere.
Oh, brilliant timing. My webcam freaks out right at the end of the call. Perfect timing.
Oh, well, it must be a signal. All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. And until next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.